Hi and welcome to this video on barriers to communication. Till now we saw the meaning, the features, the elements and the process of communication. But very often we are misunderstood. There are things in the environment that interfere in this process, and that is what we will be looking at in barriers to communication. At the end of this video, you will be able to define noise in communication, identify the barriers to communication. So what is noise? Noise has a very general meaning, but in communication, we look at noise as all those factors that actually come and break down the communication. Noise can come from different sides. It could be physical, physiological, or psychological. Now, physical noise deals with the noise that is there in our environment. For example, the noise of traffic outside and you're trying to speak on the phone inside your flat and you're not able to do so because there's too much of noise coming from outside. That is in the physical environment. Physiological environment or physiological barriers, this deals with your physiology or the anatomy. For example, it could be being hearing challenged, or it could be because you have a cold and your hearing gets blocked or it is diminished. This is to do with your anatomy. And psychological, this is to do with your emotional state. Some people have an aversion to listen to somebody else. So when you're talking to such people, they would have already built a block and will not even listen to you. So these are the types of noise that can actually get into this process and disrupt communication, distorting the entire message. Apart from these, we also have barriers to communication, which I will first list out and then we'll take it up one by one. Environmental, individual, organizational, channel, linguistic, semantic, and non-verbal. So let's go into environmental. Now, environmental suggests your environment. So the disturbing noises that you hear in overcrowded areas, in the bus, in the marketplace, or if you're a teacher in the classroom of a, say, a first standard class, there is so much of noise. Sometimes you can't even hear yourself think. So these are actually environmental barriers that could come and distort the message. Individual barriers. This is our judgmental nature or the ego of each person which interferes in the process of understanding. Sometimes I may feel, okay, I know the subject really well. So when somebody is talking to me, I build a block saying, I know better than him or her, and I refuse to listen to what they have to say. This kind of judgmental listening is not a very positive way to communicate. Organizational. These are messages that are passed down in the hierarchies. For example, the CEO wants to send out a message to the shop floor. It has to go through all different rungs of the hierarchical ladder before it reaches. I think all of you would have played this game called Chinese Whispers, wherein the message gets distorted at every level. Finally, the message that the CEO intended to send will be completely changed by the time it reaches the lower level. This kind of filtering that happens is an organizational barrier. Channel. When I choose the wrong channel to send out my information. Now, if I want to advertise for a car and I put it in a women's magazine totally, or I put it into a magazine that's carrying news on stock market, it will not have that much impact as if I put it in a car magazine like Autocar or any of those. So when I choose my channel, I have to be extremely careful because I'm spending on the ad and I have to get the message across to the correct audience. Linguistic. Linguistic has to do with your language. So what may sound very polite in one language may not be so polite in another language. You have to be very careful because in today's environment, we're dealing with people from different cultures or different parts of the world, in fact, and how we speak with them, we have to be sensitive to the background that they are coming from. Semantic barriers. This happens when it's the same word but is understood differently based on the culture you're coming from. For example, we'll take the word gift. Now, in German culture, it's not as positive as it is in English culture. In English culture, we say gift means a present. It's something pleasant and positive. And guess what it means in German? It means poison, which is like totally the opposite. So depending on where you're speaking, you have to be very careful when you use these words. non-verbal communication. This refers to our body language, it refers to the tone I speak in, it refers to my facial expressions. So I should be able to match my words to my body language. Now when there is a mismatch, there is a barrier to communication, or sometimes we may misunderstand the communication. Now, like the image says, what does this mean? Some people say excellent. You want to say 0 also, you say this. So if you're asking someone, okay, how is my performance? I may do this, it may mean 0 or it may mean excellent. So what is it you understand? Unless it is conveyed properly, there will be a miscommunication. The key points discussed in this video: noise, that refers to the factors that disrupt communication, and it's classified into physical, physiological and psychological. And analyzing the barriers to communication. How can all this help you? Now you're aware that there is something called noise as defined by communication. You can understand what are the barriers that may actually interfere and distort your messages to the receiver. Having understood them, recognize their existence, and you can try to either eliminate them or even minimize them.